Hey, welcome back to the tutorial series on the awesome procedural level generator plugin for Unreal Engine 4 and 5. This plugin is super cool and lets you make amazing levels in a snap.
That's right. This plugin is super cool and lets you create amazing levels in a snap. With this plugin, you can use any modular models you want, from the marketplace or your creations.
You can also make hexagonal and 3D levels that suit different game genres. Whether you want to make a strategy game, a puzzle game, or an action game, this plugin has you covered.
Another neat thing about this plugin is that it works with runtime and multiplayer projects. This means you can make levels that change based on what the player does.
In this video and the next ones, we're going to learn how to use this plugin and have fun with its features. We'll show you how to set up the level generator, how to customize the parameters, and how to generate your levels.
Always the first thing we need to do is to make a new folder for our assets. Let's call it Blueprints. Next, we need to make another folder for our collections. Collections are where we can add our meshes and set up some rules for our level generation. To make a new collection, just right-click and from the Aussie PLG menu pick collection. You can change the new asset name if you like. Now, let's add some meshes to our collection and learn how we can customize the options in our collection. Click on the Add Option button and choose the mesh you want from the list.
Are there any other ways to do this?
Yes, you can select the meshes you want from your levels, content browser, or both. And then press the Generate Options button in the collection. When we do that, a message will pop up asking you if you want to add both selected meshes from the level and the content browser meshes to the collection. If we click Yes, we'll add both. If we click No, we'll only add the content browser meshes.
That's cool. All the meshes are now in our collection. Quick and easy.
Yes, working with this plugin is quick and easy, as you saw. Now, if you look at the name of each mesh, you'll notice that the collection automatically removes the SM prefix from the mesh's name. If we want to change the option name, we just need to click on the name once, wait a bit, and then click again. Now we can type the new name.
What if my mesh's prefixes were different?
So let's learn how to change the prefix. For those who don't know, the prefix is the first part of the name. For example, SM means static mesh, and we want to remove them to have a cleaner collection. We need to go to the Details tab and modify the prefix field to match the prefix of our meshes.
What does that pen button do?
If you click on the Pen button, the plugin will automatically rename your options for you.
What are the other important options we have in the Details tab?
The next important option is to select the type of mesh we want to use. This plugin supports square, rectangular, and hexagonal shapes.
Can I add any meshes?
Yes, if the overall shape is listed in the list. But one thing you need to remember is that all the meshes in a collection need to be the same size in at least 2 dimensions, usually X and Y. This is because the plugin uses these dimensions to calculate the grid size and the snapping points.
What else do I need to check about my meshes?
You need to define where the pivot point of your mesh is. The pivot point is the point where the mesh rotates and scales. As you can see, these meshes have their pivot points at the center. But I have other examples like these meshes that don't. We can select either Center or Custom from the menu. If you choose Custom, your generator automatically offsets your meshes. There is also an extra custom option with Ignore Depth that will make all the options at the same height. I always recommend you move the pivot point to the center of the mesh in your 3D modeling software before importing it to the Unreal Engine. This will make your life easier and improve your performance.
Everything looks good so far. Can you please tell me how these meshes connect to each other?
Sure, let's move on to the Sockets section, where we can set up for how our meshes connect to each other. The first option is the Socket Counts, which lets us choose how many sockets we want to have on each side of our mesh. The sockets are the points where the meshes snap together. The number of sockets we choose depends on our meshes and our strategy for generating the level. For these meshes, I will use 3 sockets on each side. The next option is the border sockets. which lets us choose which sockets must be used on the borders of our maps. The borders are the edges of the level where we don't want any gaps or holes, or may want them to be ocean.
Okay, and how controls are working in this editor?
To preview the mesh in the viewport, we just need to double-click on the empty space of each option. We can use the left mouse button to rotate around the mesh, or the right mouse button to zoom in or out.
And how to add the sockets you mentioned?
To define the sockets, we just need to click on the socket button for each option. Plugin will automatically scan the mesh and assign the sockets for us.
Really? Simple as that.
Yes, simple as that. Now we can rename the new sockets by clicking on their names. We can also change their colors by clicking on the black box next to them. This will help us see them better. Let's do the same for the next mesh. Click on the Socket button and see how the plugin recognizes all the sockets correctly. Awesome.
Wow.
For this mesh, it detects new sockets. I will rename the socket 2 to ground, and you can see it automatically updates the sockets on the mesh too. For me, the socket 3 is the same as the road socket we had on the previous meshes. So I can merge them, and by merging the sockets, you can teach the plugin how to recognize the sockets better.
Wait a second. Can I teach the socket manager?
Yes, you can. It has some sort of learning abilities like AI. It's very simple. All you need to do is drag and drop the new socket on the old socket. Plugin will automatically update the sockets on the mesh for you.
I don't have anything to say.
For the next mesh, all the ground sockets are correct. Same for the next mesh.
What if Socket Manager didn't find sockets for my mesh?
If you don't want to use the automatic socket generator, you can add sockets manually and then apply them to the mesh with just a drag and drop on the mesh, and it will snap to it. Easy peasy.
Nice.
Sometimes the plugin might have trouble finding the sockets correctly, especially if your meshes are complex. In this case, you can use some options in the Details tab to help the plugin. If you hover your mouse over them, you can read their description and see what they do. If these don't work, just go with manual socket assignment.
Can we just test and generate a map with these meshes?
Yes, our collection is almost ready, but we still need a generator to use it. To create a new generator, let's make a new folder to keep things organized. There are other ways to create a generator I will show you later. Then right-click and select Blueprint class from the menu. Then from the All Classes menu, search for the generator and select the AC generator. Now, let's drag and drop our new generator into our level. You can see that it has a lot of settings and options in the Details panel.
Yes, it seems we have lots of them.
Don't worry. For now, you can collapse all the menus except the AZ menus. These are the menus that we need to set up our generator. You can change some settings, such as the algorithm, map size, ranges, and most important, the collection.
Do you mean the asset that contains the meshes and the sockets that we want to use for our level?
Yes, exactly. To spawn the meshes, we need to use the Initialize button. This is a very important button, and we can also use it to reset the meshes to their default state.
So I think we just need to click on the Generate button to see what our generator makes for us.
Yes, this will create a random level based on your settings and your collection.
Oops, what is that?
This pop-up message is a helpful tip that tells you how to optimize your collection. If the mesh has the same sockets on all sides, it doesn't make sense to rotate it, right? Because it will look the same, especially for this empty tile city. In this case, you can disable the rotating option and save some memory and performance by not adding the mesh variations into the pool.
Our level is ready, and it seems all the roads and city tiles are correctly placed. I don't see any bugs, but this is not as beautiful and realistic as I want. Where are those green meshes in our level?
The reason is that we don't have any tiles in our collection to connect city tiles to the green or grass tiles. To fix that, we can add wall meshes to our collection. Would you like to do that?
Yes, why not? First, I just need to select the meshes, and in the collection, I need to generate options. Right?
Yes, it's very simple. Once the new meshes are added, To define the sockets, do you remember how?
Sure, I just need to press the socket button, it seems. I found some new socket for this mesh.
Yes, but we can teach the system how to manage them. We had the ground and city sockets before.
Yes, but socket 3 is not new.
Rename that to wall. It's obvious this socket is a wall socket.
Okay,
I think you can now merge the socket 4 to the ground socket. And also, it seems socket 5 is also the same as the wall socket. On your next mesh, all sockets are recognized perfectly.
good for me.
Also, on the last mesh, it seems they're correct.
Now, I want to generate the level again. This time, I have a better level, but it's still not perfect.
You will get different results each time you change the seed manually.
Okay, for now, I will just set it to 0.
Now, we have a nice combination of all our tiles in the level.
Are there any other ways to control the map and meshes?
Yes, you can define rules and conditions for each option in our collection.
I want to prevent these T roads from being next to each other because both are the same option, but variations of the mesh.
No problem. All you need to do is find that option in the collection. Use the Add Self-Check button and set the distance value. This will tell the plugin to check the distance between them and make sure they are at least one tile apart. You can set any distance you need.
Thank you. There are some other similar cases that I don't like. For example, these two gates are too close to each other.
The solution is the same as before.
This time it generated a different level.
Yes, because of those checks.
Let's do the same for these two road corners.
No problem. First find the option and then add the self-check rule. Also, to prevent making these small cities, we can apply the same check to the wall corner meshes.
Let me just add a self-check for these T-road mesh too.
Now this is a better level.
Now, how I can add a distance check between these two different meshes.
That's very easy. Just find one of them in the collection and use the Add Distance Check button. Then from the list, select the other mesh.
Really? That was easy.
Yes, to just show you this condition is added to the other mesh. Search the other mesh's name and
Yes. The collection automatically added a distance check to this mesh too.
however, adding too many checks might cause problems for the generator to build a level and lead to failure, especially in runtime, or even increase the build time for large levels.
Can I make large levels using this plugin?
Yes, you can use the chunk algorithm or the starting and ending range options to decrease the build time of your large levels. For example, by using the start and ending range options, you can generate parts of your level only when the player triggers them. Building levels in the editor or runtime during the game does not freeze your project due to the multi-threading support of this plugin. This means that the plugin can run multiple tasks at the same time without blocking the main thread. However, your target platform must support multi-threading for this to work.
Can you show me how the range option works?
Yes, if you want to generate the center part of your level in this map, we can enter row 2 and column 2 as the starting point, and row 4 and column 4 as the ending point. This will generate the level only in the center of 4 tiles and leave the other tiles empty.
Yes. Only the center part is generated and the rest of the tiles are empty. Can you please increase the map size?
Sure, let's set the size to 12 rows and 16 columns, and always try to initialize first. I will go with the base algorithm to see how much time the generator takes to build this level with all the conditions we have added to our collection.
For 192 tiles, it took around 46 seconds.
Now, Let's use the chunk algorithm with a width of 4, which is divisible by both rows and columns.
I can't believe that it only took around 1 second to build this map. It's super fast.
Just a heads up. Sometimes you might not have a lot of rules and conditions for your collection, and the base algorithm might be quicker and better for you. Oh, and remember that the seed you choose also matters a lot. We're almost done with the collections editor, but before we go, let me give you a quick rundown of these awesome conditions that you can tweak to your liking. Free neighbor. This option is a lifesaver when you want to avoid failure and speed up the build time. If you turn this on, the generator will use this mesh as a last resort, instead of starting over and looking for another solution. Equal chance. This option is a cool twist on the free neighbor option. Instead of using this mesh only when there's no other choice, the generator will treat this mesh as a regular tile too, giving it an equal chance to be picked. Rotate. This option is great when you want some variety in your mesh orientation. Turn this on and the generator will spin your mesh around like a top. You can turn this off if all sockets are the same and save some performance. Limit count. This option is handy when you want to control how many times this mesh can be used in the level.
Like setting a quota for my mesh.
Yes, and next is weight. This option is like a popularity contest for your mesh.
So I can increase this to see this mesh more in my level.
Exactly. And the last option is max series. This option is useful when you want to limit how many of this mesh can be next to each other.
Can you show me an example, please?
Yes, on this level we have 3 walls in a row. You can change that to, say, 2 walls max, and break up the monotony. This option checks both horizontally and vertically.
What if I want to have a mesh in a specific location?
Now we need to go to another tool, a powerful feature that lets you customize your maps to your heart's content. Let me show you how it works. First, reset the tiles, and then select the manual generator from the menu. Now you need to select the tile you want to change, only one tile each time. And click on the Get Options button to see what choices you have for this tile.
I want to create a cool map with a few gates around the level and a city in the center.
Go ahead. Place your tiles, and when you are done, click on the Generate button. This pop-up asks you if you want to reset the tiles that are not empty or keep them. This time, I think you want to keep your gates, so click on the No button. Now, as you can see, your gates are still in their places, and the rest of the map is filled with new tiles.
Yes, this is good. Can I still edit this generated map?
Yes, of course you can. First, make sure you're still in the manual generator mode, and then click on the mesh you want to modify. Now you can use the Revert Tile button to reset the selected tile to its default state.
It's super easy to edit generated maps or manually guide the auto generator tool. What these two options are doing.
All options. This option lets you see all the options that are in your collection, even if they don't fit the selected tile.
It's like a cheat code for map design.
Validate. This option makes sure that the options you choose don't leave other tiles without valid options and prevents future failure. It's like a safety net for your map generation.
Thank you. I also like to build maps with hexagons. Is it possible to show me an example?
For the hexagons, I made 2 sample maps you can find in the plugin content folder, point type and flat top. In the pointed top, you can see there's a point vertex at the top of each hexagon. If you open their collection, the only difference is in the Details tab and the Shape menu. Now let's take a look at the flat top map. This time, the top of each hexagon is flat, as the name suggests. And in their collection, as you can see, the shape option is different too. Oh, for both hexagon types, I set the socket size to 1. That's important to remember. You may want to use a different value. It depends on your mesh.
I don't want to waste your time anymore, but is there any chance that I can build maps for RTS games? I love them.
Yes, I added an RTS map sample to the project. These are a little bit different. As you can see, these meshes are not flat like the previous ones, and they don't have faces on all sides. They're like little hills and valleys, but don't worry, their setup is super simple. If you open their collection, you can see that the flat mesh setup is the same as before. But if you open a mesh that is not flat, if you pay attention, the only difference is the 3D button that is turned on for these types of meshes. We will have a specific tutorial for them.
Can you please show me how they work on the map?
Sure, I'll set the chunk's width to 5. Remember to always use a value that is divisible by the map size to decrease build time, which will make things easier.
Is it possible to test the border socket on this map? Yeah, I want all the borders to be flat ground.
Yes, all I need to do is just add the socket tag letter of the ground in the border sockets list. You can add more than one socket tag to this list if you want. I think that's enough for the first video of this procedural level generator plugin. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new.
Thank you all for watching this video. We will create more videos about this plugin and its features. Please let us know what you think about this plugin, and also send your ideas to this email. Maybe your ideas will come to life in the next updates.